So, when an AI system could affect your job, your safety, or even your basic rights, who gets to say if it's actually trustworthy? Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the European Union's answer to that very question. It's a high-stakes approval process designed to create the official gatekeepers of AI. Let's dig in and see how it all works.
I mean, this is the question, isn't it? It's getting more urgent every single day. From the algorithms that decide who gets a job interview to the systems running our power grids, AI is making some really big decisions. And the EU's AI Act, it was built from the ground up to tackle this challenge head-on.
So, the Act's first move is to identify what it calls high-risk AI. And this is super important. It's not about regulating every single AI out there. No. The focus is squarely on systems where, if things go wrong, the consequences could be, well, pretty severe. We're talking about AI used in hiring, by the police, or in managing our water and electricity. This whole risk-based approach is really the cornerstone of the entire regulation.
Okay, so how do you even begin to police these high-risk systems? Well, the EU's solution isn't just to throw more rules at developers. It's way more ambitious. It's about creating a whole new class of expert, totally impartial auditors. These are the gatekeepers, the independent bodies whose entire job is to verify that a high-risk AI system actually lives up to the EU's super strict standards before it ever gets near the public.
But that just leads to another question, right? Who guards the guards? How does one of these organizations get the official stamp of approval to even become an AI assessor? This is where we get into the real nitty-gritty of the law, a process laid out in Article 30 of the AI Act known as the notification procedure.
All right, the official term is a bit of a mouthful, a conformity assessment body, or CAB for short, but you can just think of them as the official inspectors of the AI world. Their whole reason for being is to act as an expert third party that can really put a high-risk AI system through its paces and certify that, yep, it conforms to the law.
And the process itself is a pretty clear four-step journey. First, the hopeful CAB applies to its own national authority within an EU country. If that authority gives them the green light, they then notify the European Commission. After that, there's this really crucial waiting period where other countries or the Commission itself can raise any red flags. If nobody objects, boom, the CAB is officially approved and becomes a notified body ready to get to work.
Now here's a clever detail that shows how the system tries to balance speed with safety. That objection period, it isn't one size fits all. If a CAB already has something called an accreditation certificate, think of it as a pre-vetted stamp of approval. Then the waiting period is just a quick 2 weeks. But if they don't have that, they have to prove their case from scratch, and it's a much more thorough 2-month wait.
You might think a procedure like this would be pretty straightforward, but oh no. The final rules were actually forged in this fascinating legislative tug-of-war, and the debate behind it really gets the heart of the classic tension in all tech regulation. How do you balance serious, thorough oversight with, not creating a bureaucratic nightmare?
This timeline really tells the whole story. The entire debate boiled down to one question. Should a notified body have to report any relevant change to its status after it's been approved? In late 2022, the EU Council, trying to cut some red tape, actually got rid of that rule. But then, the European Parliament pushed back, hard, arguing for constant oversight, and they put it right back in. And in the end, the Parliament's stricter version is the one that made it into the final law.
So you can see this fundamental disagreement in action. The Parliament's goal was all about robust, ongoing transparency. They wanted to know about any little change that could possibly affect an assessor's competence. The Council, on the other hand, was worried about creating an administrative headache and wanted to just focus on getting that initial approval right. Two very different philosophies at play.
And this quote from a legal analysis of the final act just sums it all up perfectly. When it was forced to choose between making things simple and making them robust, the EU went with robust. And that sends a really strong signal that they are serious about keeping a close eye on these powerful gatekeepers. So, okay, the process is tough. We get it. But what does it actually take for an organization to even qualify? Let's take a look at the pretty demanding list of requirements in Article 31 that these gatekeepers have to meet before they can even think about applying.
And believe me, the bar is set incredibly high. First, they have to be totally impartial. We're talking zero financial connection to the AI developers they're checking out. They need proven, deep expertise in everything from AI tech and data science to cybersecurity and even fundamental human rights law. They have to be financially stable, have enough expert staff, have their own top-notch cybersecurity, and even hold serious liability insurance just in case they mess up. It's basically a massive checklist for trustworthiness.
Look, it's easy to get lost in all these articles and procedures. I get it. But why does all this bureaucracy actually matter? Let's zoom back out for a second and look at the real-world impact of having a process this rigorous and, well, this harmonized.
Because at the end of the day, this is not just about ticking boxes on a form. Every single rule, every waiting period, every single qualification, it's all designed to build a solid foundation of public trust. The goal is to create a system where, when an AI gets certified, people can actually believe it's safe.
And having one unified process actually hits several targets at once. It builds that critical public trust, for sure, but it also supports innovation. And this might sound counterintuitive by giving developers a clear, predictable, and fair path to get their products approved across the entire EU market. And of course, most importantly, it ensures a consistently high bar for safety.
And this is where you can see the real strategic thinking. A single, harmonized system is designed to stop something called form shopping. That's the idea that a developer could just hunt around for the one country with the weakest rules or the easiest assessor to get a quick pass. But making the standards the same everywhere, the Act prevents a race to the bottom on AI safety.
And because it's so thorough, this whole approach is being watched very closely all around the world. The EU's AI Act, especially this super detailed process for vetting the vetters, is setting a really powerful precedent. It's basically creating a potential global benchmark for how other countries might even begin to regulate AI.
Which, of course, brings us right back to that central question. The EU has clearly made its choice. It's prioritizing thoroughness and oversight. But is this tough and maybe even slower process the right balance? Does it perfectly thread that needle between protecting all of us from harm while also letting the incredible pace of AI innovation move forward? Well, that's the billion-dollar question that we're all going to see answered as this act rolls out.